My wife said, "You're too weak to handle a strong woman like me." I calmly replied, "Maybe. But I'm strong enough to walk away." A week later, I filed for divorce and invited her mom to stay in the house she thought she'd keep. Even her lawyer couldn't stop laughing when he saw the documents. I'm 34, and until about 2 months ago, I was married to someone I thought was my partner. Her name was Nicole. We'd been together for 6 years, married for 4. When we met, she was ambitious and confident, which I admired. I'm not someone who needs to be the center of attention or the dominant voice in every conversation. I was fine supporting her career goals, her dreams, her vision for our life together. The problems started about a year ago when Nicole got promoted to senior director at her company. The job came with a significant raise, a corner office, and apparently a completely new personality. She started making comments about how she was the breadwinner now, even though I made decent money myself. She'd undermine my opinions in front of friends, interrupt me constantly, and generally treat me like I was some kind of incompetent assistant rather than her husband. I tried talking to her about it multiple times. Each conversation went nowhere. She'd either dismiss my concerns entirely or turn it around and accuse me of being intimidated by her success. I wasn't. I was proud of her, but I wasn't going to be disrespected in my own marriage either. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago on a Friday night. We were at home, discussing weekend plans. I suggested we visit my parents since we hadn't seen them in over a month. Nicole immediately shot it down. "I'm not wasting my weekend driving 3 hours to sit in your parents' boring living room," she said without looking up from her phone. "They're my parents, Nicole, and they've been asking to see us. So go by yourself. I have better things to do." It would mean a lot to them if we both went. We haven't visited together in months. She finally looked at me, her expression cold. "You know what your problem is? You're too weak to handle a strong woman like me. You want some submissive little wife who does whatever you say. That's not me. I have priorities that don't revolve around playing happy family with your parents." I felt something snap inside me. Not anger exactly, but clarity. I'd been making excuses for her behavior for months, telling myself she was just stressed from work, that things would get better. But in that moment, I realized they wouldn't. This was who she'd become, and she had no interest in changing. "Maybe," I said calmly, "but I'm strong enough to walk away." She laughed, actually laughed. "Walk away? Please. You're not going anywhere. You need me. We'll see about that." I walked out of the living room, went to our bedroom, and started making calls. First to my lawyer friend David, then to a real estate attorney he recommended, then to my accountant. By midnight, I had a plan in motion. Update 1. That weekend, I went to visit my parents alone. Nicole didn't even ask where I was going, just assumed I was running errands or something. While I was at my parents' house, I explained the situation to them. My mom was heartbroken but not surprised. She'd noticed how Nicole had been treating me during our last few visits. "You deserve better than that," my mom said. "Marriage is supposed to be a partnership." My dad was more direct. "Cut your losses, son. Life's too short to spend it with someone who doesn't respect you." I spent the weekend reviewing documents with my lawyer via email. Here's where things get interesting. The house we lived in wasn't in both our names. It was only in mine. I'd bought it 2 years before we got married with money I'd saved and a small inheritance from my grandfather. When we got married, Nicole had said there was no need to add her name to the deed since we were in this together anyway. I'd agreed, thinking it didn't matter since we were married. But legally, it mattered a lot. In our state, property owned before marriage and kept in one name only remains separate property unless it's explicitly gifted or transferred. My lawyer confirmed that Nicole had no legal claim to the house. There was more. Nicole had been spending extravagantly since her promotion. Designer clothes, expensive dinners with her work friends, a luxury car lease. Most of these expenses came from her salary, but she'd also racked up about $40,000 in credit card debt on cards that were solely in her name. I'd kept my finances relatively separate, maintaining my own accounts and only contributing to a joint account for shared household expenses. My lawyer smiled when he reviewed everything. This is probably one of the cleanest divorce cases I've seen in years. Your assets are clearly separated, you have no kids, and there's documentation of her independent spending habits. This should be straightforward. How fast can we move on this? I asked. I can have papers filed by Wednesday if you want to move that quickly. I do. Monday morning, I called Nicole's mom, Patricia. Patricia and I had always gotten along well. She was a kind woman, recently retired, who'd been living alone since Nicole's dad passed away 3 years ago. Nicole barely spoke to her mother anymore. Too busy with work, she always said. "Hi, Patricia, it's me," I said when she answered. "Oh, hello, dear. How are you? How's Nicole?" "That's actually what I'm calling about." "This is going to sound strange, but I need to ask you something. Would you be interested in coming to stay at our house for a while? Maybe a few weeks? Stay with you? Is everything all right?" Nicole and I are having some problems. Serious problems. I can't go into details right now, but I'd really appreciate having you here. I think you'd enjoy the space, and honestly, I could use the company. Patricia was quiet for a moment. "Is Nicole okay with this?" "I'm handling it. Trust me. Can you come this weekend?" "Well, if you think it would help, yes, I can come." "Perfect. I'll send you the details." Update 2 Wednesday afternoon, Nicole was served with divorce papers at her office. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard about it from a mutual friend who worked in the same building. Apparently, she came out of her office looking pale, papers in hand, and immediately tried calling me. I didn't answer. She came home that evening around 7, slamming the door so hard I heard it from the second floor where I was working in my office. "What the hell is this?" she shouted, storming into the room and throwing the papers on my desk. "Divorce papers. I thought that was pretty clear." "You're actually serious? You're divorcing me because of one argument?" "One argument?" "Nicole, you've been treating me like garbage for a year. That Friday conversation was just the final straw. This is insane. You can't just divorce me." "Actually, I can. I already did. Well, filed for it anyway." She picked up the papers, scanning them frantically. "You're trying to keep the house?" "I'm not trying to keep it. I'm keeping it. It's mine. My name only. Bought before we got married. Your lawyer will confirm this." Her face went red. "That's our house. I've lived here for 4 years. As my wife, yes, soon to be ex-wife. The house was never marital property." "This is vindictive and petty. No, this is legal and fair. You can take your designer wardrobe and your luxury car lease. I'll keep the house I bought with my own money." She stood there shaking with rage, then turned and stormed to our bedroom. I heard drawers slamming, closet doors banging. She was packing, I realized. Good. About an hour later, she came back downstairs with 2 suitcases. "I'm staying with Amanda," she said, referring to her best friend. "We're not done with this conversation." "Yes, we are. Talk to your lawyer from now on. I'm done talking to you." She left. The house was quiet for the first time in what felt like forever. Thursday morning, I called Patricia. "Change of plans. Can you come tomorrow instead of this weekend?" "That's very short notice, dear. I know, and I apologize, but it would really help me out." "All right. I'll pack today and drive up tomorrow morning." Friday afternoon, Patricia arrived with her 2 suitcases and her cat, Mr. Whiskers. I helped her get settled in the guest room, which had its own bathroom and a nice view of the backyard. "This is lovely," she said, looking around. "Are you sure Nicole's okay with me being here?" "Patricia, I need to be honest with you. Nicole and I are getting divorced. She doesn't live here anymore. I invited you here because I know you've been lonely since your husband passed, and because, frankly, I think Nicole should be ashamed of how little time she spends with you. You're welcome to stay as long as you like. No rent, no pressure, just company. Patricia's eyes welled up. Oh my, I had no idea things were that bad between you two. She didn't tell you? Nicole barely calls me anymore. Maybe once a month if I'm lucky. I'm sorry. You deserve better from your daughter. But you don't deserve to be alone in that house when there's plenty of room here. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Update 3. Nicole found out her mother was staying at the house on Sunday. She showed up unannounced around noon, using her key to let herself in. I'd been planning to change the locks, but hadn't gotten around to it yet. Mom? What are you doing here? Nicole said, finding Patricia and me having coffee in the kitchen. Hello, sweetheart, Patricia said warmly. I'm staying here for a while. Didn't you know? No, I didn't know. Why would you stay here? Your husband, well, soon-to-be ex-husband, I suppose, invited me. He's been very kind. Nicole turned to me, fury in her eyes. This is a new low, even for you. Using my own mother against me? I'm not using anyone. I offered your mother a place to stay because she was lonely, and you clearly don't have time for her anymore. She accepted. Mom, you can't stay here. Come stay with me at Amanda's. Patricia looked uncomfortable. Sweetheart, Amanda's apartment is very small, and I've already gotten settled here. Besides, Mr. Whiskers likes the backyard. This is unbelievable. You're choosing him over me? I'm not choosing anyone, Nicole. I'm accepting kindness that's been offered, something you used to understand before you got so caught up in your career. Nicole's face went through several emotions: anger, hurt, confusion. Finally, she just turned and left without another word. Monday morning, I got a call from my lawyer. You're not going to believe this. Nicole's lawyer called me. He wanted to negotiate terms for the house. I sent him the documentation proving it's your separate property. He called back an hour later and said, and I quote, "My client has no case here. This is the most clear-cut property division I've seen." Then he actually laughed and said something about his client being delusional if she thought she had any claim to it. He laughed? He laughed. Apparently Nicole had been insisting to him that she deserved half the house because she'd contributed to its maintenance. He had to explain to her that paying half the utilities for 4 years doesn't entitle you to equity in a property you never owned. How long until this is finalized? Given that there's no property dispute and no kids? Maybe 3 months. She could drag it out longer if she wanted to contest things, but her lawyers already told me she has no grounds for anything. I think he's advising her to just sign and move on. Final update. The divorce was finalized 2 months ago. Nicole signed without contesting anything in the end. Her lawyer had apparently convinced her that fighting would only cost her money in legal fees for a case she couldn't win. She took her clothes, her car, her credit card debt, and moved to a different city for a new job opportunity. I heard through mutual friends that she's telling people the divorce was mutual and that we grew apart. Whatever helps her sleep at night. Patricia is still living in the guest room. We've settled into a comfortable routine. She cooks dinner a few nights a week, insists on it, says it makes her feel useful. I help her with anything she needs around the house. We watch movies together, play cards, talk about life. It's peaceful in a way my marriage never was. My parents love having her around when they visit. Mom and Patricia have become genuine friends, going to lunch together and taking day trips. Dad jokes that I traded in one difficult woman for a much better one. Patricia laughs at that. She knows her daughter's flaws better than anyone. Last week, Patricia told me Nicole had called her for the first time in months. They talked for about an hour. Apparently, Nicole is dating someone new, still focused on her career, still convinced she's the victim in our divorce story. Patricia didn't argue with her, just listened. Afterward, she told me she feels sad for Nicole. She's my daughter and I love her, Patricia said. But somewhere along the way, she forgot that success isn't measured in job titles and salary. She forgot that people who love you aren't your competition or your employees. I hope she figures that out someday. Do you think she will? I don't know, but I'm grateful you got out before she destroyed you completely. I am too. Looking back, I should have left sooner. The signs were there long before that Friday night conversation. But I kept hoping she'd change back into the person I'd married. The truth is, maybe this was who she'd always been, and the promotion just gave her permission to show it. The house feels like mine now in a way it never did when Nicole lived here. I've redecorated some rooms, started a garden in the backyard that Patricia loves helping with. I've been on a few dates, but nothing serious. I'm not in a rush. After years of feeling diminished in my own home, I'm rediscovering what it's like to just be comfortable in my own space. The irony isn't lost on me that Nicole accused me of being too weak to handle a strong woman, and yet she's the one who fell apart when I stood up for myself. Real strength isn't about dominating your partner or proving you're superior. It's about respecting the people you love, admitting when you're wrong, and having the courage to walk away from situations that make you less than you are. I was strong enough to walk away, and in the end, that's exactly what saved me.